Hey, all you active and recovering people pleasers out there. This is a special episode just for you. I'm going to pull back the curtain and give you some real life examples of how I consciously and intentionally move through the practice of not people pleasing in my life. So if you are someone that is actively people pleasing, tune in. This is for you. Welcome to the Live Your Yes Life podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Kaela, and I run this podcast along with my business partner, who also is my mom, Lisa Limata. And every week we show up here to bring you sometimes live interviews, sometimes solo episodes, food for thought that supports you to actively live your yes life, the life of your dreams, and build a business that funds it. So let's dive in. Like I said, today I want to talk about what we can choose instead of people pleasing. And I want to back up and give you a little bit of context and let you know that this topic is alive and well for me right now because of just some real life conversations that I've been having this week, especially around what's happening in my life. So I have had a little bit of a cold. I haven't even had to take any medicine, just pumped up the vitamin C a little bit, just a little twinge of a cold this week. Compliments of my husband who brought one home and shared it with our family. And recovering, healing my body from this cold, wanting it to be important that I'm in optimal health, has had me be really intentional about the ways that I people please, and I've been in conversations with a lot of my clients. So I'm saying that because I'm going to speak into that in our conversation today. And also, in case I sound like a bit stuffed up or a little bit off, that's what's going on, but I'm feeling great. So it's all good. Okay. Let's start by talking about what people pleasing is and why I think that it doesn't really serve us. I'm holding my words right now. I'm like, do I want to say that people pleasing is harmful? I don't know. In some cases, long game, absolutely. In the moment, it doesn't always feel like that, but it typically does not serve us. So people pleasing is when we make a choice that we think will make someone else happy, but it probably won't be for our best interest. It's when, I'm just trying to think of like a really easy example. And, I think that there's varying degrees of people pleasing. This is why I was pausing and gathering my thoughts when I was like, am I going to say that people pleasing is harmful? Because I think that there are some really light examples that, and that, does that feel harmful? No, not necessarily. Like a really light example could be if I want pizza for dinner and my husband wants tacos and he says, we ate what you wanted for dinner last night. And I say, yeah, tacos it is. That's technically people pleasing. I'm saying like, okay, you want tacos. I don't want tacos. Here I am. And in that small moment, it's all good. But what happens is that how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so we start to bring that habit into our lives everywhere. And this can really snowball into not even knowing what it is that we actually want or desire, or diminishing our worth, our desires, our value, our contribution, or starting to disconnect, disassociate from what's really meaningful and important to us, and always prioritizing other people over us. So if we're trying to break up with people pleasing, the solution is not to become the world's most selfish person who doesn't think about or doesn't care about anybody else. Of course, that's not going to work either, and that's not the answer. But there is something else. So instead of people pleasing, what I practice, and it's not like I get this right 100% of the time, and I'll even give you an example today of how I kind of muddied my way through this. But what we can do instead is we can practice feeling into what is of greatest alignment for us. And then we can speak that out loud. We can ask other people for what we want while speaking our truth. And we can allow people to respond however they do. And I have found that this little formula really supports me in being able to meet myself and other people exactly where we are, so that sometimes I do get what I want. Like, this is the way that I get to have a lot of what I want, not at the cost of other people, not by steamrolling other people, because that's not going to work either. So let's just go back to me having a cold this week and how this played out and showed up in some places, because it's a pretty light example. Again, like I said, I was not on my sick bed. Like I was, up and doing things all week, but I just knew that my energy was low. I wear an Aura ring that tracked my biometrics, and my Aura ring is telling me like, hey girl, let's just pay attention here. Vitality is important. Let's not overdo it. And I have a history of definitely being the person that would overdo it. In the past, and I'm recovering from this, I am a chronic, like I will push my way through and then I will limp across the finish line or crawl across the finish line because I push my body so hard. And I've been really working on recreating that story over the last few years. So on Monday night, after I had a couple calls in a row and my workday ended, is when I first started noticing. I was like, ooh, I'm feeling a lot more tired than I normally do on a Monday afternoon. Like I'm feeling pretty run down. And so I cued into that and just took the night easy. I'm in the middle of a good book. So I just sat on my couch with a cup of tea and a good book and went to bed early. And throughout the night, I could feel that I had a sore throat. When I woke up Tuesday morning, I was like, yep, the sore throat is here. And my husband woke up and said, I think I'm sick. And I was like, oh, shoot. So here we are. I have a little bit of a sore throat, runny nose. And I, again, wasn't feeling like, the worst that I've ever felt before, actually feeling okay, but noticing that I'm not in my ideal. And so I looked at my calendar and said, how can I lighten this load today? Where are the places that I can reschedule with being mindful that I don't want to, make things difficult or hard for other people, but I also need to honor my own self. And this is where you start getting into people pleasing territory. And let me know, I know that I'm not alone on this. We're present with how we feel, which how I felt in that moment is like, I'm feeling run down. I'm feeling like I need to rest. I feel like what would be most beneficial for me is to stay with my cup of tea on my couch, reading my book and letting my body heal. And then I also was present to some things that, I have a team. So some things on my calendar, my team could pick up for me and our clients didn't have to, we didn't have to reschedule with them. Just someone else could do the call and that was great. But one of the things that it had to be me was going to my personal training appointment. Twice a week, I work out with my personal trainer. And this was on my docket for today. And so I was just sitting with, okay, old pattern of me would just not even say anything, show up, do the hard workout, and then probably wake up the next day feeling even worse and running my body even more into the ground. And so I was present to, I don't want to do that. And I would do that in service of making sure that I didn't interrupt my trainer's day because I don't want to be the kind of person that last minute cancels because, I know what that's like and how that can just make someone else's day a little bit bumpy. And so I sent him a text and said, hey, I'm not feeling 100. I know that I could rally, but I'm thinking that maybe I need to rest. So I'm feeling into if I should do a lighter workout, a shorter workout, or skip it altogether. And this is the part where it's getting a little messy, a little muddy. I'm not doing I'm not walking my talk perfect here. And that's okay. I'm just letting myself be human. I'm wanting to bring my trainer into this conversation because I'm being mindful that I don't want him to think that I'm flaking on him or just like, hey, I just don't feel like it today, which he knows because I never do that because I'm a woman of my word and I show up. And he responded back and said, got it. Why don't we just do a shorter workout? And auto response, I just right away say, sounds good. And as soon as I sent that text, I thought, ooh, I feel in my body that actually does not sound good. The fact that I've just committed to showing up and going to my workout today, my body is telling me, no, ma'am, we do not want to do that. And so here's where I actually start to really be in this practice that I am teaching you today, that I do a lot. And so it's, even though it's pretty easy for me, you can see I'm modeling that I don't always get it perfectly right. And so I'm sharing this to say that this might be an ongoing practice and that you might fumble through it a few times or many times for the rest of your life, because I think that's what we do as humans. So I sent him a text back and said, as soon as I said sounds good, I could tell that my body regretted it. I know that what I really need today is to stay at home and rest, and I just did not want to let you down by last minute canceling. Thank you for understanding. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm speaking my truth. I'm letting people know what is real for me in this moment. I think that one of the reasons that we sometimes find ourselves people pleasing is because we feel like our truth, like maybe isn't that big of a deal, or like it's okay if we don't get what we want or what we need. And so we think that, well, if I would maybe have to like exaggerate it if I were to tell somebody else. Like, I'm not going to lie, there was a part of me that was like, should I tell him like, oh, I'm just really sick, I can't come today? And then I was like, well, no, that's not the truth. The truth is I'm not really sick. The truth is I'm okay. I could rally and I could be there. So notice if that's ever what happens for you, is like the reason that you're choosing to people please is because you think whatever's going on for me is like small or silly or just like a little inconvenience. It's no big deal. And so you just override it. And instead, what we get to do is practice speaking our truth. So we can just say, here's what's going on for me. Here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what my thoughts are. And then ask for what you need or what you want. And so you can just make that request. And the language that you can use would be something like, my request is, or here's what I'm asking, or this is the decision that I'm making. How does that feel for you? Can this work for you? We can make that kind of request. That's step 2. And then step 3 is to allow the other person to respond however they do. So we can't expect and demand that once we make an ask or a request, that the other person is going to absolutely understand and just be like, oh, wonderful. Yep, let's do that. They are allowed to respond with whatever they want. They can be disappointed. They can feel let down. They can feel inconvenienced. They can feel any kind of feeling that they want to have. And the difference here is that our intention is not to make them feel that way. We're not calling someone and thinking, gosh, I hope that this really disappoints them. I hope that this really interrupts their day. That's not our intention. We don't go from people pleasing to trying to ruin their day. Instead, what we do is practice saying, here's what I need. And people are welcome to have whatever kind of feelings and experience they want to have on the other side. And I don't have to take ownership of that. Can I communicate in a way that's respectful and mindful of everybody in the situation? And they get to feel how they feel. And so that allows us to be in a different dance with getting what we want that also doesn't have us, instead of demanding what we want, just bending over and people pleasing. This is what I really want to offer to you, is to practice taking on these 3 steps for yourself in a moment when you notice that you might accidentally people please. So the 3 steps again are, you feel into, what do you really want? What's your highest alignment? What's your truth? And then you get to speak into that by asking, by making a request with the other person. And the 3rd step is to allow for the other person to feel and respond however they do. And then you get to feel and respond however you do. But in this intentional, respectful way, we can now bring ourselves to the table to really experience a different results for our lives. And this is just one of the many ingredients, one of the many tools that we can put in our toolkit to live our yes life. I want to remind you that not only do we have this podcast called Live Your Yes Life, but we also have a book, which is available on Amazon, and a Facebook group by the same name, Live Your Yes Life. So if you want more helpful practices, tangible tools, and resources, I would love to invite you to head over to Amazon and get our book, Live Your Yes Life, so that you can join us in this journey. We'll be back next week with another new episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you soon.